What's good, YouTube? Warstorm here, coming at you guys with another video today. Today I'll be talking about the updated ban list. So everyone was kind of surprised. I mean, I was kind of sitting there reading on Discord, and all of a sudden everyone started melting down that the list was out. Most of the time, you know how people are nowadays. When the list is updated, they typically are trolling you, linking you the list to mess with you. Now, granted, I will say that as of this video going up, the American list hasn't been updated, but the European list has, and it always gets updated first. So these are pretty much official changes. I know people tend to go a little crazy when the list happens, but this is the list. It's just going to be updated on the American site very soon. It's just Europe tends to have different time. They have different time zones than the US, obviously, so that's one of the reasons. And so just to start us off, so this list doesn't have a massive amount of changes. This is kind of what I expected. I know a lot of people wanted just soft rebooting the game, getting rid of a lot of things, but this, I kind of thought, because last November we really didn't get a lot of massive changes. And the other important thing to note, the update will occur on January 21st, 2019, as you guys are seeing. So 2 months from now, we're going to be having this discussion all over again. But I think in general, that's a good thing, that if you're having more, because especially in the crazy combos people come up with nowadays, having a quicker time period to address the ban list, or simply if things aren't a problem, kind of letting things evolve, is a good idea. And I do think that as much as people don't like having an exact date for the official update for the ban list, I think that's a good thing, because it allows Konami to address things quicker if they need to, as they have in this case, because we got a list in September and it's already being updated again, and that's kind of the goal. And I'd rather have these smaller bite-sized lists that address issues in our format than have a list every 3 months and have a problem running around that long. That extra month that you're not having, that you don't have an updated ban list, affects event attendance, because we have a last YCS of the season coming up in Europe. So now that they have a new ban list, that's really good for them. So along the way, we'll go ahead and get into it. Now, the first card, I think a lot of people were debating whether it would be banned or not. Italian Yugioh was saying that the anime producers don't want it banned, yada yada yada. It's a character, it can't be banned, it's a character protagonist card, yada yada yada. It's banned. So we can finally rest in peace, Firewall Dragon. So many cards died for your sins, but now you are where you belong on the banned list. This was easily the card people were even saying it would last throughout the entire Vrains era, and I'm glad that they were wrong. But the thing about I've always said about Firewall Dragon is that you can complain about the burn cards, you can complain about the other things that enables, but you always need to address the problem. It's the same thing when Elder Entity Norden, which consequently is a few slots up from here, was an issue. You can try to hit instant fusion, but Norden is still a problem, and it always will be. And that's the thing with Firewall Dragon, is that, and I really do think when they designed the card, they didn't really. Obviously, I think they may have designed it to be a bit too powerful, and that happens. Things like that do happen when you go through QA testing, but it belongs banned, and it's banned. We can all rejoice. It's gone now. Now, the important thing to know is there are no other banned cards on this list, so RIP. No Soul Charge isn't getting banned. Gumblar is not banned, people, and no Rognominiad is not banned. So I don't know why people thought those cards were going to get banned, but they're not banned. So we can deal with it. Let's kind of see what those decks do without Firewall Dragon. So the first limited card on the list is Armageddon Night. Perfect. A lot of people were saying this hit. I think this was a pretty consensus hit on this. And Armageddon Night going to 1 means that you don't understand how powerful it is to be able to summon an Armageddon Night and then make an Isolde and grab another one from the deck. Now, the other cards that you can tether from the deck are still good, like Vion, for example. But Vion is very limited on what it can send. It can send Malicious, which we'll talk about in a minute, and it can send Shadow Mist, but that's about it. And Grepher, sure, it can, but it does require a discard to proc, and it can special summon itself from hand, but it's not as good as Armageddon Night. And Grepher can only send high-level monsters, if I'm not mistaken. So Armageddon Knight's a lot more flexible in that regard, because it can send low-level monsters, like back in the day I played it in Pendulum Magicians, it sends Zephyros and Shadow Dragon, and now, and at 1 it's fine. Like, you have that one Armageddon Night normal summon, you have that one summon you can proc from deck, and you have to play other starter cards, and that's a good thing. And those other starter cards aren't as good as Armageddon Night, and you still have it in the game, but it's not really. It forces players to make changes, and that's a good thing. I do think Armageddon Night is where it belongs at 1, and it's a good spot for it. Now, the important thing to know is there's nothing else on the limited section, if I'm not mistaken. So, again, this is much like last year's list where they hit Spiral. There are very, very few changes. But the important changes are that the 2 main limited and banned cards are obviously really important. And you are hitting the consistency of, the Dark Warrior Link shenanigans. The Malicious is also going to 2. This is what happened back in the Synchro era as we go back to that. And I think Malicious is fine at 2. Now, ideally, I'd kind of like it to be at 1, but I do think that, Konami doesn't want to put it to the point where it's completely unusable. I mean, they did a similar thing with Ratpier, but this is more of a thing where there are some cards that belong in the semi-limited section. As much as I hate the semi-limited section, there are some cards that belong here that have some bad interactions with other cards, or they're a lot less. Putting them at 2 means they're usable and a lot less consistent, and that makes sense. And putting it to 2 means that if you're only getting that one summon from the deck. If you proc it out of the deck with Summon Sorceress, and if it's in your hand, you're only getting that one summon from the deck as opposed to 2. And that's really big, because now if you have Malicious, you're only getting one. If you send a Malicious to the grave, you're only making that one Link 2 with it, and that's really good. And that really, if you summon it, send it with Armageddon Night or Dark Grepher, etc., you're only getting to make one extra Link monster with it, and that's a big thing. That's a huge change, turning it from a 1-card Link 4 to a 1-card Link 2. That's what I really like about it. And then we do have some changes on the unlimited section. With Firewall banned, there's no reason for A Assault Core to be on the ban list anymore, so it's now at 3. Now, if you were playing ABC, you can play them to a viable standard again. I feel like the limitation to A was dumb in the first place, and the kind of theme with this list is Konami is correcting mistakes they made. That's in general the goal of a ban list, is to correct the mistakes. That's what they're doing. Dark Destroyer going to 3. This doesn't really change Cosmo all that much. I mean, granted, having that extra copy of Dark Destroyer is big, but Cosmo is the type of, it can have some really good matchups if the meta is heavily targeting based, but I think that the deck is going to have Cosmo still has its problems, and especially with Cyber's Quantum Dragon coming out, I really think it's going to get even that much easier to get rid of a Dark Destroyer. But as I've found playing Invoked, it can be a very difficult card to deal with. So it's going to be interesting to see what people do with Cosmo. I mean, we do have the new Nephis archetype that came out, so it's going to be interesting to see what people do with the deck. And then, of course, my favorite change on this entire list, besides Firewall Dragon, is Called by the Graves going back to 3. This card should have never been gone to 2 in the first place. With generic cards, you cannot place them on the ban list if they're like kind of staple-ish cards, because it creates variance. Now, I do understand the argument against Called by the Grave. It makes combo decks ridiculously strong, but it is a very skillful card, and it belongs at 3. You either put it to 1, you ban it, or put it to 3. That's where it belongs. So anyway, guys, it about comes to the end of the video today. Kind of short today. What do you guys think of the new ban list? Do you think it's a good change? Do you think they should have changed more? Or do you think it's basically exactly what we needed? And make sure to tell me how much you're glad the Firewall Dragon is finally banned. So anyway, guys, always like to thank you guys for watching. So Orstorm signing out.